Welcome to the Insane Reality of Midlife Health podcast, where we redefine midlife health from a real perspective. I'm a certified health coach and personal trainer, here to guide you through the challenges women face. You'll hear tips and stories from everyday women who have walked this path. Let's shift our focus from the past to embrace who we are now. All right. Thank you for tuning in to my Insane Reality of Midlife Health podcast. So today I have Miss Beautiful Michelle here with me that I'm just thrilled to have today. We could talk about how we kind of linked up to do this, but that's for another day, I guess. But briefly, at one point in time, 5-6 years ago?
Yes.
I met Michelle when I first moved to Tennessee, and we did a little bit of training together, but I was all over the place then. So I was blessed to meet you at that time, got to work with you a little bit, but not on the level I would normally do with a lot of people. So I reached out to you, and here you are.
Here we are.
And we might pick up to a whole nother place now.
That's right. And you're an amazing trainer, by the way, too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yes, so good. Yeah.
Thank you. I missed that. And the whole goal of this podcast was I wanted to just really start taking everything I've learned. This has been going on 20 years of just working on every realm of health and wellness. And I wanted to just talk about it now because I've been in every situation with every type of person, and I have so much more to offer now. From 5 years ago, from 10 years ago. And I just want people to know, one, that this is reality out here that people aren't talking about.
Yeah.
And we can make light of it while we cry, while we laugh.
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, all we can do is keep going and finding the best routes for us. And even though I want this to be educational, I don't have all the answers. So yeah, I want people to learn from this, but I also might not be the one teaching it. It might be the people I have on that they're learning from.
Right.
Because we're all different. We all go through different things, and there's not one answer to any of it. So if you have a trainer or a coach or anybody that says they got it all, I don't know.
Nobody has it all. Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So we learn from each other. I've learned from my clients over the years, and definitely they've learned from me, and it goes both ways for sure. So I'm going to open up with some questions.
All right.
We'll see where this goes.
Okay.
That's what I love about this. You don't know where it's going to go.
That's
it's just going to flow. And it won't rhyme the whole time like that. So just letting y'all know. See, that rhymed again. I might be a rapper at the end of this show. All right. So first off, I would like to know, at what age or specific time of your life, it can be either or, did you notice that your body just stopped responding to exercise and nutrition or whatever that you've done in the past? When did you notice that things just weren't responding the same anymore with your overall health?
Yeah. Well, I have 4 kids. Bounced back.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. A set of
makes
twins.
it even more amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Set of twins in there. So after the twins, it seemed like, oh gosh, I'm going to have a hard time bouncing back after having twins. Yeah. But it did. It happened. I was able to do that. With the 4th one, it was harder to bounce back after him. And I was like 29 with the 4th, so I started early. So I had everybody over with by the time I was 28 or 29 years old. And but I started noticing the difference when I hit in my 40s.
Okay.
And I'm in my 50s now. And so when I was in my 40s, I started noticing I wasn't doing anything different, and the weight kept coming on. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? I was going to the doctor, trying to figure that out, going to this specialist here, getting the hormone shots. They weren't working because they were giving me too much testosterone. Yeah. I was on the interstate driving and feeling like I could just curse everybody out on the interstate. Yes. And he said, oh, that means the testosterone that we're giving you is too high. So anyway, so I stopped taking that. It was actually the pellets. That's what I was getting, was the pellets.
That's a whole nother episode I want to do. I've worked with a lot of women, and this is why I say I've learned so much from my people. This is not something I can learn through certifications of training and nutrition. Right. That stuff. And I remember the first lady that told me that, I was in my 20s, and she's telling me she's getting these pellets stuck in her hip. And I'm like, whoa,
Yes.
this sounds horrible. Like, what is going on? And then that's like something that stuck with me for years, because I thought, do we really have to do this?
I know.
And so here you are. I have another woman that brought that up to me recently, and here you are telling me this as well. And that is something I think we could talk about all in itself. But the fact that I'm glad you brought it up, because I think that's something that a lot of people don't know about. Their doctor says, oh, you can do this, and you're desperate at that point.
That's right, you
go,
are.
You go for it.
You go for it.
But it's not always the best case. Like you said, it doesn't always work. I mean, it's either trying to find the right levels, or it just doesn't work at all for you.
Because it's the brain fog. It's the weight gain. It's the tiredness. You're feeling all of those things as you're starting to go perimenopause. And I met you during that time when I was.
Oh, you were very nice to me. I'm glad you was nice to me.
I met you. And because it was like, I'm struggling here. I don't know what to do. Yeah. The weight is coming on. And I said, I've got to do something. I need a trainer.
Was that the first time you ever got a trainer?
It was.
Good
you
to
were
know.
the first time, and you were amazing.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, you were amazing. Just so easy to work with. You didn't judge.
No.
And it just, and you tuned it for me. You know, it wasn't like you were trying to kill me. You were like, okay, well, let's do this. If you saw it was something I couldn't do, you said, let's do a different version of it. But you still pushed me at the same time. So it was amazing.
I really do appreciate it. I miss those days. I appreciate it, because I feel like that time frame of my life, and this is the things people don't know. Like, I was a trainer, but I was going through a weird time of my life, and a very weird time. And like, these things can keep branching into more subjects, but I feel like I probably didn't give the people I had here, and I can't remember how brief my time was here when I moved here to start training, but I don't feel like I was given what I could have given, what I know I have to other clients at that time. So it's almost like you were going through your thing and I was going through my thing, and people think, oh, you're a trainer, you got your health down, you got all this. But I was in a weird place too, and I was struggling. And
well, I couldn't tell.
Well, that's good. That's good. And that's at the end of the day, this is where finding what you love, and I know we talked about that the other day on the phone call. It does truly blossom through all emotions. And the fact that I could be crying before I walked in the gym, going through whatever I went through, no matter how hard it was to wipe it off, I walked in there, and because I truly loved giving and helping and doing what I was doing, it erased that. So it wasn't that I was really hiding it. It's just that I truly do love what I do.
Right.
And you could
tell. And you could tell.
But thank you.
Yes.
But so that was the first time you sought out a trainer, and you were in your 40s?
I was in my 40s.
40s. So you were perimenopausal.
Perimenopausal.
Okay.
I hadn't really been in the early stages of that is what it was. But like I said, the brain fog was like off the chart. Though gaining the weight, and it was starting to, but still having a cycle.
Yes.
And so it was just a lot.
And the doctors can only tell you so much about it. And there's only so much they can do test-wise. That's the thing that a lot of women don't know. They think, well, let me go to the doctor and see what's wrong with some test. And then perimenopause, there's nothing truly you can do to see. Yes, you can see if your hormone levels are out of control or something else is going on with your blood work, but a lot of women don't know that. I didn't know that. And people say, well, let me just go see. But really, it comes down to education. And that's truly why I'm hoping people could just watch this and say, okay, this is what's to expect. It does happen. You don't truly know. You're, like you said, all the things, these brain for all these things. Is there something I can do about it or not? Yeah, there's some things you did. You went and you decided, let me get a professional person to say, what am I doing? Because what I used to do isn't working for me anymore. And it won't. Right. And that is a guarantee.
Right.
I don't have it. I have yet to meet any person that was going through perimenopause, menopausal, and was able to do what they did in their 20s and 30s, and it still worked for them.
Right.
You have to totally change it up. And so I feel like a lot of women need to know that first.
Yeah.
And then, as you know, going on into menopause, yes, there's obvious signs, things that doctors will know and they will tell you, but then you're still limited with your options.
Yes.
So what does it boil down to? You already know the answer here. What does it boil down to help with you? This is what I always tell you. At the end of the day, surgery, pills, pellets. That just sounds horrible, that word
Right.
pellets.
Yeah. And it was horrible. They put a slit. They literally cut you to put them in. So
to this day, that is our options if we went and said, what can I do? Outside of that, and this is where I'll get at with every show you're gonna see is it boils down to, at the end of the day, we have to be consistent and find some kind of routine in our physical health. That we love. We have to, whether we like it or not, we're going to have to learn to love food the right way and not the wrong way. Have a better relationship with our food. And those two in particular will help the realm of the dimensions of everything else, with our mental, with our financial, with our everything. If we have those two in order, those bring everything as a whole in all dimensions.
I agree with you. And that was one thing I started doing, is doing more research on my own. I took the pellets out. I started doing a lot more. Of course, I was doing the training. I started taking more natural things to help with the hot flashes and the brain fog. And also watching what triggered the hot flashes. Sugar.
Yes.
Triggered it, and alcohol.
Yes.
Like a glass of wine would trigger it.
All the things we think would help it.
Exactly. Right.
All the things we think would help it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I definitely would say, I don't want to say someone not to go do hormone replacements or anything like that, because they're having people that's successful with it. And if you can get your balances right, great. So nothing I say, I am not a doctor. I am not here to advise anybody on anything. We're just all going to talk about our experiences with it. But to each his own, right? But at the end, we all have to figure out a healthy balance of just what we really truly have to do. Because there is no other thing in this world that will create the true character of strength and the beauty inside that makes us glow like our own personal work.
That's true.
And I say work, I don't like to use that word. Our own personal self-care.
Right.
I don't want it to be work. I find myself saying that a lot to clients is, they say, I'm going to go work out. So let's change that word, work. Like,
I call it my peace time,
yes,
my meditation time.
Yes.
That's what I call it. I was just telling a friend that she was talking about joining the Y or something. And I said, there's nothing more to me than being out in nature and working out. I love that now.
That's
like this. That's right. Like this. And I said, I love it. I said, I love going outside. I love my time with God. I put my podcast, a podcast on, or music, and I just use it as my praise and worship time.
So you're giving me goosebumps.
Yes, I'll go out and I may, after my workout, take like a kettlebell and do those afterwards and do some weights. And I love it.
See, you said it all right there. And that hit hard home to me, because that is the true beauty of you're finding your balance. I think the biggest thing, your spiritual, your mental, your connection with nature and God, and everything, it starts to come together. If you were just going and hitting the gym and hitting the gym and hitting the gym, and you had somebody pushing you to no limit, and you're eating a diet that's unrealistic,
right?
And we talk more about that later, because everybody thinks starting off eating healthy is unrealistic, but there's a balance. That's my key word. Balance. But if you were doing that hardcore thing over and over, I'll tell you right now, I have learned from 35 on, your body does not work that way anymore. It is not. And I still have a lot of women, and they are in that in between. Like, they're still going to these boot camps and they're doing all these things. But first, I ask people, like, what do you do for it all day for a living? Because the level of your stress and what your body does all day, whether you're a sedentary person or are you on your feet all day, all these things are the biggest factors that people and trainers don't consider as much.
Right.
When you are in this stage, you're like, I need help. I want to lose this weight, but going and having someone kill you every day might not be the answer for your body.
Right.
I always say our body is in a very finicky stage, and the key to it is finding this happy balance. And it is tough. It's a journey.
Yeah.
But you're on a good path. I can tell you that now.
I feel like I'm on a good path.
Yes,
I do. There was a time when I felt like you had to go to the gym. I had to go, no matter how tired I was. But I wasn't finding the joy in it.
Mm-hmm.
The joy came for me from being in nature,
Mm-hmm.
being outside.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the joy. And if it's 2 miles one day that I walk, that's fine. If it's 5 that next day, that's good too. But I try to do it at least 6 days a week.
See, the fact that you found something you like, you're doing 6 days a week, probably almost habitually, naturally.
Yes.
Whereas if I told you need to go to the gym 6 days a week, that would
It wouldn't
last
happen.
maybe 3 months to 6 months, and you're burnt out. It's over.
That's right.
So the key is what you just said, and it's going to create a longevity to where, yeah, we want to look good and we want to be a certain size and all that. But if you're healthy at the end of the day, and I was saying this to the girl the other day, I said, do you want to wake up with a pretty face, a nice butt, but you can't walk and you're on a walker, or do you want to be like you like this and you're just struggling to, or I mean, that's not cute. No matter what that looks like here,
exactly,
that's not cute
to
anybody, and not to yourself either.
No.
But if you get up and you might have more inches on than you want, but your insides are healthy. Your mental is healthy.
That's right.
That glow and that character that it gives you is undeniably the best thing you could do for your life. That will get you farther in every aspect of health. And anything, really.
Yeah.
You want quick, easy ways to prep healthier breakfasts and lunches? Developing healthy habits from 25 to 35 can set you up for a lifetime of wellness and vitality. Join my live nutritional workshop where we'll tackle meal prep together and ensure you're meeting your macronutrient goals for optimal results. You'll receive a grocery list for these meals, so no more procrastinating, ladies. We're going to be productive as a community. Now let's lay the foundation for a balanced, fulfilling life together. All right, Michelle. So, I like to ask people a very easy question. I say easy. Do you know what a fad diet is?
Oh, gosh, yes. I've been on thousand of them.
Okay, so this is going to be a lot of questions in one. First, I want you to tell me what you think a fad diet is.
The cabbage soup diet is a fad diet. Okay, right? Am I right?
Going.
Okay.
Keep it going. We can go on.
Let's see, what else? That would be one, because I did that. I did the one where you eat ice cream and
whoa, how did I miss out on that one?
At night you get a little scoop, half a scoop of ice cream, but you do like dry toast with dry tuna. And
this might be the best.
I can't remember, what that one's called, but I've done that. So I've done fad diets.
And what do you think?
The grapefruit diet, where you eat grapefruit. Yeah, I've done that one. What else? I said the cabbage soup. Yeah.
So I love asking this question to people because one, I mean, just alone, I learn a new one every time. And that one beats all. So far, you get the award for what'd you say, ice cream?
Yeah,
and what?
You get tuna? Ice cream, but the tuna is on dry bread.
That is the best. I'm going to put that down on my wall for the best.
Yeah, the best.
I should probably put my best ones up here.
You're so hungry by the end, and by the end of the day, you get the ice cream.
So
that's like the best treat ever.
Okay, so that's a great way to go into this. So I like to read what the world of science says it is, what the world of Google says it is. So it says it promotes results such as fast weight loss without robust scientific evidence to support its claims. That's one. Another one says a fad diet is a diet popular for a time that often promises unreasonably fast weight loss or health improvements. Okay. So I like to read those because I think they're interesting and they have some keywords like unreasonably and no scientific data for support.
Right.
And I like to go into this because there's a lot of things around fad diets that I like to just get people's educate around.
Right.
Because it is something, like you said, the first answer you said, I've been on a lot of them.
Yes.
So I say to people, if you are, there's a lot of things that factor into not seeing results, but if you've been doing a fad diet and this is kind of, if you notice, it kind of becomes a domino effect in your life. You keep jumping on the next one, jumping on the next one.
That's right.
Couple things with that. One, that might be why this is, once again, I'm going to say it's like, I am not a doctor. This is my opinion and my advice from just working with different people.
Right.
But I always wonder, and if I could be a scientist for a day, this is one area I'd go into. If that does not affect long-term, being on these diets that are restricting our bodies from our key essential nutrients, over time, that would affect the way our body works efficiently, so that when we are, if at any point, figuring out how to eat right, our bodies having a hard time getting accustomed to it because we've damaged it.
Right.
We've damaged it. This is I like to make, what's the word? Like things, a visual for people to see when I talk about health. I love to compare for people to think of their insides, because this is truly where our health starts.
Right.
Here and here, not here and here.
Right, right.
And here. So I always say, pretend like they're these old factory wheels.
Okay.
The ones that have the little wedges and they kind of click into each other. If everybody knows, I don't know why that has always clicked in my head.
Yeah.
And pretend like we have 4 or 5 of them in here. And if, in order for this one to turn on, this one's got to turn on, and this one's got to turn. So if we completely restrict an area in our life through a fad diet or through something we're doing, one of these wheels stop.
Right.
Okay, so when this wheel stops, guess what's going to happen? Because they all link together. This one's going to eventually stop, and this one's going to eventually stop. So we're shutting ourselves down. And always fad diets, temporarily, you will see any kind of results when you make any major changes to your life. That's the key that people kind of lose.
And you feel bad. You do.
That's a key factor.
You do. Like in the middle of the diet, you feel bad. And a lot of times you get off the diet because you're not feeling good.
Because
because it's doing what you're saying it's doing. It's shutting it down. Yeah. And you almost feel like you have the flu or you're coming down with something.
Yes.
And so you're like, I can't do this. So you stop doing it.
Yep.
And then you go from that one, and then a friend will tell you about another fad diet. So then you get on.
Get us in trouble.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And then you'll get on the next fad diet after that friend tells you about that one, and you'll try that one, and
it just keeps going, right?
It keeps going.
And it turns into 20 years of doing it.
Yes.
And then you think, well, why is my body not responding right? Well, it's because we've pretty much been bad to it for a long time, and we've shut some things down. So it's not going to just reboot overnight. It's not going to reboot in 4 to 6 weeks, especially the older we get. Things don't reboot, period, the same way. So we're definitely not going to be jumping back into it. So I always like to tell people first, before, well, you made a good point that I'll just briefly say is, don't listen to your friends, because what works for them doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
And are they professionals too?
No.
Do they really truly know what they're doing, or are they doing it because it just worked for them? So that's one key problem. But the biggest key is what is it doing truly to you inside? It's not realistic. And at the end of the day, anything that's not realistic, you're going to not stick with.
Right.
And so I like to know how long people have been doing it. And I tell them first, like, hey.
How long? Really?
Yes.
Probably since I was a teenager.
Okay. And
even when as a teenager, not really needing to lose any weight, but you feel like you need to lose weight.
Well, because women are told how
they need to look. But you're size 5 and you think you need to lose weight, as a teenager. So
that's another podcast I'm going to do one day, is about when are we ever happy with ourselves.
True.
Because like you said, I was a size 5. You were perfect.
Exactly.
But you were still trying to do something.
I was still trying to lose weight. Exactly.
So these fad diets.
I'll take it now, the 5.
I know. Literally, that's one of my questions on here that eventually I'll get to with somebody on one of these podcasts, is that question. Yeah. When are we ever truly happy? We look back at pictures and now we want it. But with the fad diets, to wrap that question up, I want to definitely say that could harm what results you're trying to give your body now. That might be why your body's taking so long to respond to things you're doing now, because you put a big stopper in this system that you're trying. It's like a forest. You burn it down. These trees are trying to regrow, and they don't grow overnight. They go through nourishment. They need everything. So I want people to know, if that's something you've spent your whole life doing, then don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
We didn't know any better, but that definitely could be a reason why we're having such a hard time now getting our body to respond. And two, it all goes back to the fact that it's unrealistic. You're harming yourself. It's not something you could stick to forever. So,
you know what I found works best for me, and where I've actually found myself where I've lost the weight and I've been able to keep it off, and it's simple. And I know a lot of people say they can't do it.
Yes.
It's the intermittent fasting.
Okay.
That works for me.
I like that you brought that up. So a good question right now with that was, somebody would be saying, is that a fad diet? Because people think that is. That is not now it depends on where you're doing your research at, but let's make sure we understand what that is. Intermittent fasting, which I never say the word right, but I know what it is. That is something, if you think about it, a lot of things always go back to the beginning of time. Technically, back in the beginning of time, when we didn't have access to all the things in the world to eat at all times of the day, we got up, we ate a meal, we maybe ate a lunch, and we'd eat a dinner.
Right.
But we didn't have the opportunity, and we were either working hard. Back in those days, everybody was working. You weren't sitting around doing nothing, throwing stuff in your mouth. And the opportunity of all the food out there wasn't there. You didn't have that. We didn't have the money, the time, the groceries, all of that. You ate 3 times a day, and you stopped at a certain time. Dinner was over. That was the same thing as what this is. Now, you can move it around to how you want to do it.
Right.
And I do want people to always know the best way to do it, and that's why you should always consult with the professional before you do that. But it's not a fad diet. It's a way of eating. So I want people to know that, because you're not supposed to be restricting yourself.
And you're not, right.
It's just a time frame.
It's a time frame.
So I do like that you brought that up a lot, because I feel like that is a big one right now that people need to know, like, what is that? No, it's not a fad diet. There's no restrictions other than time frames.
Right.
But if you think about it, it works because it's what we should have always been doing, what we always did. So when I started hearing about that, and all these people are like, oh, I'm doing the intermittent IT diet. And I'm like, you're not doing anything different than what you should have been doing from the beginning of time.
Exactly.
Nobody told you to go home and start eating ice cream at 12 o'clock at night because you were bored or stressed.
Right.
Like, because before you might, you eat dinner and that was it.
Right.
It'd be over with. Or you might have a little family dessert, but it was done after that. You would go to bed. But now we're up all night. We're working later hours. Right. We're stressing more. So that's why we got all these bad habits of eating outside that room.
And when you do it, though, it becomes almost like natural. It's because
it is natural.
It is, right. You're right. You're right. It is, and it's like you could start whatever time you decide. If it's 11:30 or 12 that you start eating, and a lot of people, it's also biblical for people to do it as well, and it's so many health benefits is what I started reading on it, of giving your body time to cleanse. Right? Is that what you're doing?
That is exactly what you're doing.
Okay.
The key to, and this is something, since this is more of a woman-based podcast, us women, we all can truly say we get to that age where our digestive system just starts getting wonky. We don't know how to control that thing. It's a mess. No matter how perfect the food it looks like we're eating and all that. And that's another story. But the key to it is, a lot of people don't realize how much we, at the end of the day, have to have a certain time frame of no food, of complete rest, for our body to detox and get all those things out and let them flow through, and stop interrupting it with a snack and this and that. So yes, it is the key to digestion, and digestion issues is a big issue, is why we have problems as women that we have, that we're dealing with at this age. So
yeah, I don't know if I'm doing it right. You can tell me this, but what I do is, if I do have a bad day, a cheat day, I call it a cheat day. Like, you probably don't call it that in your profession, but I say a cheat day.
I call it whatever it is.
Yeah, and so the next day, eating may start a little later to give my body time to cleanse.
Cleanse it out.
Yeah, to cleanse it out. So it may be eating starts at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Just to give more time for that. And when I've gotten off of it and stopped doing it, I've noticed the weight will come back, start come creeping back. And I'll say, what am I doing? Oh, you're eating earlier than you normally eat. And I'll go back to it.
That is back where we were talking about finding our finicky bodies a happy place. That's where we talk about to each his own. We're all a little different. Now, I will say there are some wrong and rights there about that cheat day, because that would maybe lead into a later night of eating, which kind of would make that cycle start again, where you're like, oh, I'm bloated, I don't want to eat. You know what I'm saying? It could restart that cycle, because if you're keeping a certain time frame, let's say a 6 hour, 8 hour, whatever you're choosing, and you did start later, that means you would end up eating later, right? So that could restart the same cycle that you're trying to avoid. Right. Because you started eating later because you felt you had a bad day.
I had a bad day, yeah. I just do it that day after.
That day after.
That day after.
You got a cutoff.
And then I have a cutoff.
Well, and that's good, because you that's with all things. You got to have that boundary line, like boom. And that's for all things. So you're finding it works for you.
It works for me. And I've told other people about it, and they're like, I can't do that. I can't go till 11:30 or 12 without eating.
Yeah.
And I said, if you try it, and then they said, you can do it. That's great. It works for you, but that's too late. I like to eat breakfast. I want to eat at 9 or 8.
Well, and that's the thing about it. You can move.
You can.
You can shift it. It's like a scale. You can shift it wherever you need to shift it. What I do tell a lot of people that say they're going to do it, that just jump on the bandwagon and they don't know what they're doing, because that's what we do. We were told. You probably saw it in social media, or you saw it somewhere and it looked right, so you started doing it. And so you started it, but maybe you didn't know the direction, and that's where a lot of people get stuck in. That's why I say talk to somebody, and that's what we're here doing. So before you start something like that, you should know what, this goes back to what I said earlier, is what do you do for a living? What does your day start off with? And what does your day start off with? What do you do for a living? What kind of stress? Because that would determine where you would start it. Yeah. So these are the type of things that we just need to know. We need more direction in our lives and health. That's what
I'm glad to hear that you're saying it's a good thing. I thought you were going to say, no, don't do that. You're not doing it.
Well, there's a lot of little things. So we do the best we can. We start something, and then after that, we want to get a little bit of more professional help to just kind of tighten up. Make it all make sense. Otherwise, you find yourself overwhelmed and frustrated. Yes. So that's what we're here for. Yeah. We're here to talk about these things and hopefully give some people knowledge in those areas, and then they can reach out and get all the nitty-gritty answers and questions, because I know I've said this 3 times now, to each his own. That's right. Whatever I'm going to tell you, I might tell something different to another lady.
Now, what I did when I first started doing it is I thought that meant within that window, I said, okay, I can eat a bag of M&Ms.
See, that's
and
where
so,
I be like.
right. And then I was like, no, it means eating healthy in that window. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we definitely could go in more of this, and these are the kind of topics that I'll kind of keep track of as we go, because if people are interested in knowing more about anything we're talking about, that's where you need to comment, and that's where you need to say, hey, I need to know more about that. But it has been a true pleasure having you.
It's such a pleasure.
I hope that we are going to continue on this journey together, moving forward after 5 years of not seeing each other.
I know. I watch your cooking sections all the time.
They're only going to get better now.
I know, they're so good. And, I told you last week when I spoke with you that I'd love for you to, maybe do one and have a lot of ladies out here.
I'm going to do it.
And we can be your taste people.
I'm doing it.
And because if you haven't seen Elizabeth's, you don't go by Elizabeth, but that's,
whatever.
Liz, I said, but if you haven't seen her, cooking sections, you definitely need to see that.
I appreciate it.
They are amazing.
I feel like I'm a mess on them, to be honest, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're keeping it real, and that's what we need, because nobody's perfect in the kitchen like it looks like. So. Yeah. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I appreciate you, Michelle, for your time out in nature. It's your future to create. This is the insane reality of midlife health with Liz. Love it. And I hope y'all tune in for the next show.